Hello everyone. Today we are going to discuss some basic login related security features that we can configure on our Cisco devices. So we have a simple topology. As you can see on the screen, we have R1, R2 and R3. The IP addresses are simple. On R1 interface connected to R2 we have 12.1. R2 connecting with R.1 we have 12.2. Likewise, between R2 and R3 we have 23.1.1.2, and on R3 we have 23.1.1.3. Now if I go to R3, so if I want to telnet, let's say R2, so I will type telnet 23.1.1.2, which is the IP address configured on R2 interface, correct? So I will say enter, username Cisco, password Cisco, enable Cisco. So now I get the access of R2. Let's suppose that someone is trying to someone does not know the username and password, or you want to apply some kind of security like this. Let's say I'm on R3, I'm trying to telnet the IP address of R2. Let's say I type anything, let's say AAA password, any password, enter. Now login is invalid. I will type again some random username and password, enter. Again I can say something like this. So I'm keep on typing the wrong username and password. So now our task is that we can define some basic security features related to login on R2, that if someone is trying to connect to me with a wrong username and password, and let's say within 15 minutes there are two failed attempts, then block his access for next, let's say, uh, 20 second. Okay, so what we can do, we can say login. I'm on R2, I'll say login block for, let's say, 20 seconds. Okay, attempts, how many wrong attempts must be there for this condition to be true? Let's say two wrong attempts in within how many seconds? Let's say within 15 seconds. If there are two failed attempts, then block the access for 20 second. Okay, I will say enter. Wait a second. Within, now I'll say 15. Okay, so the login for that particular user will be blocked for 20 second if there are two failed attempts within 15 seconds. So you can verify this using show login. You can see here that router is enabled to watch for login attacks. If more than two login failures occur in 15 seconds or less, login will be disabled for 20 seconds. Okay. Now, also, if you want to see the success and failure logins, we can also type one more command, login on success log. And I also want to see the failure one, so you can type login on failure log. Okay. Now, if I go to R3 and I'll try to access again R2 with a wrong username and password, I will say, let's say, so one failed attempt and second failed attempt within 15 seconds. You can see that now the connection is closed. If I try to access R2, it won't allow me. If I go to R2, now you can see that there are failed attempts. What was the username we use? WE, we use RT. Okay, but because we have a security now, that is why we are not allowed to log in after 15 second, within 15 second, I mean, right? If you say show login, okay, router enabled to watch for login attacks if more than two login failure occurs within 15 seconds or less. So because of this particular condition, our access is blocked. Okay. So now also if you see, let's say if I go to on R3, you see if I go to R3, show access list, there is no access list, right? Because on these routers R1, R2, R3, I did not do any configuration. There are just simple IP addresses, and on R2 I just enable telnet. There is one username and password, but I did not configure any ACL on any of these routers. But if you see here on R2, show access list. Now you can see by default there is one access list created because we are using this login security feature. A self-defense ACL is created, which is denying what? The telnet traffic, the SSH traffic, and if we try to access via the GUI. So it is basically the ACL created by the system just to block the access to this particular device. Okay. So now there is one problem that we can see if I go to R3, let's say, and I try to access again. So one failed attempt, two failed attempt, and now my access is blocked. But if I go to R1 and if I say telnet 12.1.2, my access is also blocked from R1 perspective. Okay, so that is the problem, because let's say there is a possibility that maybe this is your external network, and someone within your internal network is now trying to access this device, but his or her access is also blocked because of this login security feature, right? So there is one configuration that we can apply on R2 so that uh, some specific IPs or hosts can be bypassed from this particular login security feature. So if the access is blocked, then those particular IPs will be allowed to access the device. For example, if I go to R2 and I say login, first I'll show you show login. Now you can see there is one quiet mode. Okay, and it is saying that no quiet mode access list has been configured. Okay, so I'll configure one access list, IP access list standard. Let's say 10. I'll say permit host and the IP address of R1 12.1.1.1. Now I will go to the global configuration mode. I will type login and I will say quiet mode access class and the access list that I have created, right? I will say enter. Now if I go to show login, now you can see that quiet mode access list 10 is applied, right? Now let's try. If I go to R3, I'll type some wrong username password. Again, I'll type some wrong username password and my access is blocked. Now if I go to R1, now you can see that now this time it is not blocking R1, right? So I can access R2. Also, if I go to show access list 10, now you can see we have two matches, right? Because you're trying to access the access R2. Now because of this ACL that we have created, the quiet mode ACL is applied. That is why now this time R1 access is not blocked, right? So this was the login quiet mode, but if we go here and login quiet mode access class, if we say question mark, then you can see that named and extended HCL is also uh, valid for this particular configuration, right? So it means that we can also create the extended ACL. So let's first go to, let's first remove this configuration, show login. Now you can see again there is no quiet mode ACL is configured as of now. So what we can do, let's say IP access list extended, let's say 110. I will say permit TCP and host IP address is 12.1.1.1, R2 IP 12.1.1.2, and we are configuring the access for telnet, let's say equal to 23. Now we'll go to the same command, login quiet mode access class 110, right? Enter. If I go to show login, now you can see that quiet mode access list 110 is applied. Let's try again. I am on R3 and I will say telnet. I will type some wrong username password, and my access is denied. I'll go to R2. Sorry, I'll go to R1 and now I'll try. But now you can see we applied the extended ACL, but it is not working, right? Show login. We applied 110, the extended ACL instead of the standard ACL, but it is not working. The reason behind this access list not working is, if you go here, show access list 110, and if you go to show run pipe include login, now you can see that when we are applying these ACLs, we are not applying the access list under some interface. We are applying the ACLs on global configuration command, right? Using the access class keyword. So when we are using, or when we are configuring the ACL using this access class keyword, it means that the particular device where we are configuring this particular ACL using the keyword access class, it means that the device is expecting the traffic for itself. It is not some traffic which is going through the device, right? So that is why this ACL is not working. So this particular destination IP, if we specifically configure, this is not allowed. So when you are accessing a particular device via telnet or via any other means, so you can access the device using any of the IP address that is configured on the device. So you can maybe log in through the IP address which is configured on interface, let's say X. You can log into the device using the IP address configured on, let's say, interface Y. You can log in through the some loopback IP that is configured on the device. So you can come via any direction and you can just log into the device. There is not some specific IP that the device is expecting that you'll log in onto. So that is why this particular configuration is not allowed, and that is the reason that this particular ACL is not working. So if let's remove this entry 110, I will say no 10. Instead, what I will say permit TCP host. I will say 12.1.1. I will say any destination can be anything, right? Any IP address to this particular box. So whenever you're configuring the access list using this access class keyword, just remember that this particular configuration is to the device. Okay, that is why this destination IP specific IPs are not allowed. So you have to provide just any instead of some specific destination IP address. So I'll say any equal to 23. I will say show access list 110. Now we have only one entry. There is no specific destination IP address. Now let's try again. I'll say show run pipe include login. This is already there. If we say show login, you can say that the quiet mode ACL 110 is already applied. Now let's try this time. I will try some your wrong username password from R3. So my connection is terminated. If I go to R1 this time, now you can see that this time the ACL is working, right? We are able to access R2. Go to show access list 110. Now you can see that this time there are matches on this particular entry. Earlier there was no match because the ACL was not working. So just keep in mind that whenever you're using this particular access class option, that is for the device is expecting the traffic to itself. So you don't have to provide the specific destination IP address. So before we close, I will show you one more thing. Now you can see that a default login delay of 1 second is applied. What does it mean? So let's say if I go to R3 and I'm trying to access R2, I type in some wrong username password. So within 1 second, I get another prompt for username. Let's say hash anything. So this is the delay that we are talking about. A default login delay of 1 second is applied. By default, it is 1 second. If you put some wrong username password, within 1 second, after the 1 second, you will get another prompt for username and password. You can change it. Let's say, I'll say login delay. So I want that if someone put the wrong username password, do not provide the username prompt before 10 second. Okay. So now if I say show login, you can see now the login delay changed from 1 second to 10 second. Now let's try some wrong username password this time, and we'll see telnet some wrong username password. Now you can see I'm not able to see any username prompt. Once the 10 seconds are passed, then I'll be able to see a new username password. I'll type another username and password which is also wrong, and now again I'm not able to get the username because the login delay is 10 second. Okay, so this was all about the basic login security features that we can configure on our device. There is one more thing that I want to show you. So you can also set the minimum length for a username and for the username, not for the username, for the password that you configure on your device. For example, I'll say security password minimum length is, let's say, 7. So if you try to configure any password which is not having 7 characters, okay, or that is not having the length of 7. For example, if I say uh, username, let's say Cisco 123, password. Cisco is having 5 character, and then I will say 1 2. So now you can see that it is having total 5, right? So it is matching our criteria. But if I say let's say Cisco 1 2 3 4 and password, let's say A B C D E F. So we have 6 characters, right? So if I say enter, now you can see that the password length is, the password must contain 7 to 25 characters. But here in this example, we are using only 6 characters. That is why it is not allowing us to configure the password. So this was all about the basic login security features. So this series is just based upon the networking fundamentals. So we'll see some another fundamental topic in some another video. So thanks for watching.